Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's event. We're ready to get started. I'm Jason Gumpert from MSDynamicsWorld.com, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity to moderate today's session. This is a little different from many of the webcasts that we typically host. Today's session is all about getting educated on some of the great solutions out in the marketplace for Microsoft Dynamics 365 customer experience or Dynamics CRM if you're on an older version. The format of today's event is really quite straightforward. Once we get through some of the introductions and housekeeping here, we have four presenters to feature from four different companies, and they will each take a few minutes, kind of in a rapid-fire format of 12 minutes each, to present to you and give you an introduction to their company and their solutions, and we will be saving some time at the end for questions. So let me just touch on questions a little bit. You probably see the Q&A block to the right of the main presentation area here in WebEx. If you don't see the Q&A block, look for a question mark icon in the upper right. That should enable it. Enter your questions as we go. We will be holding them all till the end to make sure everyone gets the allotted time, but we will then go ahead and get to as many questions as we're able to in the remaining part of the hour here. So our presenters today come from, well, let me just quickly introduce them, and they'll spend a little more time. But we're going to start off with Ryan Pennett from QGate, followed by Jeff Knight, VP of Corporate Sales at InGenius, followed by Erwin Buggenhout of Xpertdoc, and finally Adam Mertz of Acton. So each of them, as I said, will have 12 minutes, and we will move pretty quickly between them. And we are going to start with Ryan, who I'm going to hand over time to now, and I'll sort of just play the timekeeper role. Again, we look forward to hearing from you as well and taking your questions at the end. So Ryan, I have made you the presenter, and you should now be able to share your screen.
Yep, and can you hear me okay?
We do. The floor is yours.
Beautiful, appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for your time. As mentioned by Jason, I'm Ryan Pennett, North American Sales Manager for QGate Software. And today we'll be discussing QGate's Paribus Discovery, which identifies and merges duplicate records in Dynamics 365. Before we get started, though, I just want to give you a real quick background on QGate. We are a CRM partner selling and implementing Dynamics in Europe, but we're also an ISV selling our add-on solutions for Dynamics 365. So we offer two core ISV technologies, data de-duplication and telephony integration. Along some of these core technologies, we have Paribus Discovery, which of course we'll be talking today about data de-duplication, or what we affectionately refer to as the cure. And this Paribus Interactive, its sister product, which is an enhanced global fuzzy search tool that also allows you to prevent duplicate data. And finally, we also have the telephony integration, our CTI solution, IntelliCTI, which integrates phone systems with Dynamics, tracking inbound and outbound call, matching those calls and all the metrics against opportunities, contacts, and so forth. But let's talk today about the duplicate data and why preventing it is so important. So data quality is an important topic, and it can be a major issue for your business, obviously. Gartner recently polled 600 large and mid-sized businesses in North America, Europe, and Australia, and found that 75% admitted that having defective data had a negative financial impact on their business. And furthermore, Experian polled businesses in the U.S. and in Europe and Asia and found that 88% felt defective data had a 12% impact on revenue. And on average here at QGate, we found that typically most of our customers, when we get in there, we find have about 6 to 7% duplicate data on average. So data quality can be expensive. Now let's talk about the challenges specifically with duplicate data. We know that poor data quality leads basically to poor user adoption, especially when we're talking about duplicate data, because users will get frustrated if they have too many records, too many John Smiths, if you will, and they have to navigate through a sea of duplicates, okay? Another issue is inaccurate reporting in dashboards. If you can't rely on your reports or your dashboards, you're possibly making decisions based on faulty data, which I think we'd all agree is a dangerous proposition. And furthermore, marketing is affected on a cost and accuracy basis, right? Sending duplicate emails or mailers, that's going to cost you money, right? Because you're paying per send and perhaps per anything you send out there to a bulk mail. And of course, you're angering potential prospects and customers alike because of duplicate emails in their system. And finally, if you guys haven't heard of GDPR, or the General Data Protection Regulation that was just enacted, and actually went in effect this last week here in Europe, which is probably why we're getting all these emails for people that saying they're updating their privacy policies, right? This can be very costly. Basically, it has a provision in it that allows a person to be forgotten from your database. Now, if you've got 10 John Smiths and one's a Jonathan Smith, maybe you got rid of the 9 duplicates, but you missed Jonathan because of no fuzziness, for example. That could cost you some serious dough down the road because the fines are pretty stiff with GDPR, okay? So this can cost you data, or excuse me, cost you lots of money. But let's discuss a user's daily struggle with duplicate data. Now let's say I'm on the phone with a Bob Smith, for example, and I need to go into CRM and do a quick search to find some information and update his record, okay? So I go into CRM, I type in Bob Smith, and I find just a few more Bob Smiths than I bargained for, right? I think we can all relate to this. So this is frustrating because I have to potentially open each of these records to find out which Bob Smith did I need to update. And so this is a huge time waster for users and ultimately causes fragmentation of the data, as we all know. So duplicate data, major issue, can be very costly both in time and money. So this is where Paribus Discovery comes in, the cure for duplicate data. Now, how can Paribus help? And you might ask, well, how is it different than the out-of-the-box merge tool? Now, we know that CRM allows for merging of 2 records side by side. But what happens if I have hundreds or even thousands or tens of thousands of duplicate records, which often we find is the case? So Paribus is a batch tool, so I can look for hundreds and thousands of records at a time if necessary, and using its patented fuzzy matching technology, we'll find things that are not just identical, but actually very similar. Now this tool is different than the out-of-the-box because it's not made for the everyday user. It's not something that all the users have at their fingertips. This is really for the power users, the CRM admins, the DBAs, and so forth, okay? Now, it does support Dynamics 4, if anybody's on anything that old, all the way up through Dynamics 365 V9. And it does support on-prem, online, and partner-hosted environments. Now, there's no solution actually installed in the CRM. It is a client-side application, if you will, Windows app. The installation is real fast, 10 to 15 minutes. It comes with some templates out of the box, and you can even customize the merge rules with this included SDK. So you can kind of make it fit like a glove for your needs. All right? So how does it work? Well, the key is its unique fuzzy matching technology, where we can search on phonetics or even misspelling, so things like photo with an F or a PH, or Cheryl with a CH or an SH, or even looking at things like Jupiter, okay, that may be misspelled. As well, it will look at things like synonyms and abbreviations, right, the Wills, Willies, Williams, Billy, the International Business Machines, and IBM. It'll also look at things like sequence variations. Does not matter if it's Florida University or University of Florida, and even if things like data segmentation that's got maybe hyphens or spaces, Paribus are going to identify these potentially as duplicate records. All right? So let's take a brief tour of Paribus Discovery. So finding and merging duplicates with Paribus comes down to basically 3 steps, okay? Running what we call a match session to identify any potential duplicates, reviewing those results and potentially approving them, and then finally merging the duplicates, all right? So as you can see here, we have some out-of-the-box templates for what we call match sessions. But I'm going to actually, and by the way, match session can look across accounts, contacts, and leads. Now I'm going to create one here just to show you how quickly it is we can actually do this. I'm going to go ahead and right-click, excuse me, hit the wrong one, and say New Session. And the first thing I'm going to do is choose one of my templates for, in this case, account name search. We'll do that. And now that I've got this selected, I can actually apply some filters if I want to look at my data. Maybe I want to break my data into more manageable chunks, maybe by region, or perhaps even look across different types of my data. For example, I can choose a filter based on customers and look against non-customers. And maybe even decide that customers are always going to be the surviving records over those accounts that are non-customers. Okay? But in this case, I'm just going to create some basic standard active filters here. And I'm going to adjust the match threshold, if you will, what I'm searching on, in this case, account name, to, instead of, I could start at 100%, if you will, exact matches. But in this case, I'm going to set it to 90%, which is going to allow for things like IBM and international business machines, which wouldn't be catched, of course, if I were at maybe 100%. All right? Now, I don't want Paribus to show me IBMs that maybe are in Chicago, as well as international business machines that are in Los Angeles, because obviously those are in two different locations. So I want Paribus to basically look for those that have similar addresses as well. So by clicking on match conditions, I can actually go in here and choose the address for composite or full, and I can even further tell it, hey, do I want it to be an exact match on the address, or kind of like I did with the account name, do I want it to be maybe more fuzzy, perhaps maybe 85%, which we'll do here. As you can notice, I can have pretty much any match condition that makes sense for your company, including custom fields if you want. But that's basically it. I'll just go ahead and put a name in here to make it descriptive, showing that I'm going to search on account name at 90% and the address at 85 and say OK. And that's about all I need to do. Now, I'm going to move on now to the first real step, which is actually running this match session. I'm going to go ahead and right-click and choose Run Session. And basically, Paribus will allow me to schedule this later if I want to do that. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and run it now. And so while it's running, it's going across and finding, obviously, any account names that are 90% similar, but only those that have an address that's also 85% similar. So it's not going to include things like the Chicago IBMs and the international business machines, let's say, in Los Angeles. Now, when it's done, it's going to provide me kind of a summary report, basically, of how long did it take to run, how many records did I actually go through and search on, and ultimately any results of duplicates. In this case, it found 48 groups of 2 or more, totaling for 111, and it shows that I have about 4.2% duplicate in my account database based on the criteria I just ran. Okay? So now that that is done, we're basically on to the next step, which is reviewing the results and deciding whether or not these truly are duplicates. Okay? And the key here is, for the review process, is to identify, are these duplicates? And then which ultimately is going to be the surviving record, which actually could be done programmatically or done manually if I want. Now, on the left-hand side here, we see that Paribus shows the 48 groups of 2 or more matching records that it identified, and then as well as how many are in each group. Now, if you can't quite see this, hopefully you can zoom in here. So I can see here that I got First Japanese PLC that has 2 groups or more. First Planet Services is the next one on the list that has 3, and so forth. So, and as I select this first one here, you can see the 2 that I have actually selected. One is First Japanese Software that has a 1ST, and the other spelled out FIRST Japanese. And obviously at 90% similarity on account name, these of course would be potential matches, as they probably are. Okay. Now, if we look towards the bottom of this list, I have one here that's called JAE. And if you can see this up here, JAE also matches with Jupiter Astronomy Equipment Corporation. Okay, so again, at 90%, Paribus feels that these are duplicate records. Now, you might notice that there's also another group here called Jupiter Astronomy Equipment. Now, Jupiter Astronomy Equipment has the JAE Corporation also included. You might ask, well, so there's 4 different accounts here that all seem to have a similar name. Why not in one group? And the reason why this is because that secondary condition we put in, address, these actually have different addresses. JAE is located in San Ramon, California, where these 2 groups of duplicates, the JAE Corp and Jupiter Astronomy, are actually in San Francisco. So this is where that secondary criteria is so important ultimately. Okay? Now, on the right side here is what we call the primary group, or what will eventually be the surviving record. And we always compare it to one of the duplicates here in this in the list of duplicates that are listed here in this panel. So I can see here that the JAE Corp is being compared with what will be the primary surviving record, Jupiter Astronomy Equipment Corporation. Now, these things in red are, of course, the things I matched on, the account name as well as the address. The information here in blue is information that's basically going to help the users help determine whether or not these truly are duplicate records. And this can be any data you want, even custom fields. So you basically decide what you want to see to make it easy for you to identify whether these are duplicates or not. Okay? Now, if I agree, for example, at first Japanese, I look at these two and I go, yeah, these are duplicate records. By basically clicking on this checkbox, I'm telling Paribus, I agree with you, it's a duplicate, and go ahead and merge. And during the merge process, it will actually merge in the duplicates into the surviving record, okay?
And Ryan, we are at time.
Are we?
We are, yeah, if you want to wrap up.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so basically, once everything is actually merged into the groups, what you're going to find basically is you run the merge tool, you go through everything, you can apply some custom merge rules as you want as well, and ultimately all of the all the duplicate records will be merged into the surviving record, and at the end of the day, you're going to have a cleaner database, which sales is going to be happy because they're going to have that fine 360-degree view of the customer. Marketing is going to be good to go. They've got all clean data, and
I do have to cut you off here.
Yep, no worries. All right, you got it. You got it.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. And we are going to move on to our next presenter, who is Jeff Knight. So Jeff, I'm sorry, Jeff. And I'm going to change control over. And Jeff, you should now have control, and you can share your screen.
Great, thank you, Jason. See if that works.
Yep, we see you.
Fantastic. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone on the call. My name is Jeff Knight. As Jason said, I'm the VP of Sales for Corporate Accounts here at InGenius. And before we get started, I'll just give you a brief background about InGenius. We've actually been in business for over 20 years now. We actually have over 250 CTI customers in 30 countries around the world. We are focused solely on CTI and have been for the last 15 years. So we're very experienced at delivering this type of solution to our customers, both directly and through partners. So what does InGenius do? Well, essentially, we tie your telephony into Microsoft Dynamics 365 or CRM. And we support the telephony systems that you see over here on the left side of the screen. So Cisco, Avaya, Genesis, Asterisk, and Mitel. And basically, we bring that telephony experience into Dynamics so that your users are working from one pane of glass. So they don't have to toggle between different applications. They don't have to be in Dynamics and then dial on their phone. They can do all of that from the Dynamics window, making them much more efficient. So what exactly does that mean? Well, earning brand loyalty depends on a customer's ability to deliver high-quality interactions. Actually, a Microsoft report from 2016 stated that 97% of organizations say customer service is important in their choice of loyalty and brand. 97%. So equipping agents with the best possible technology to achieve the best experience they can deliver is paramount. And that's what InGenius is all about. So the first thing at the bottom of the stack is improving productivity. And InGenius allows you to do that by enabling things like click to dial. So any phone number in Dynamics becomes clickable. You click on the phone number, it automatically puts your phone off hook and places the call outbound. We then do automatic call logging, so we log things like duration of the call, time and date of the call, any notes that the agent takes about the call, and any configurable wrap-up codes that they choose. And then at the end of the call, we tie all that information up and log it as a phone activity against the appropriate entity in CRM. And then because of our extensive experience in telephony, we've been able to build in intelligent dialing into the application as well. So a user doesn't have to think about whether they're dialing a local number or a long-distance number. They click on the phone number and the application is smart enough to send it to the switch appropriately. And we all know that reducing the number of clicks an agent or a team member has to make is paramount in terms of efficiency. And so we've built in functionality like click to create, which we actually drew from working with our customers, which allows you to create a new entity on the fly in a single click. So very important, and we'll look at that in a little bit. When we talk about customer satisfaction, because we're logging all of that great information that we're capturing directly into the CRM, you can then leverage the extensive reporting functionality that's built already into Microsoft Dynamics and use that to report and get a 360-degree view of what your agents are doing on the phone. We also enable screen pop on incoming call, and out of the box that screen pop is going to happen on caller ID information, but we can also screen pop based on call attached data that comes in with the call. So if when the caller calls in, you're collecting things like an account number or a client ID, we can parse that information from the phone call and use that information to search and pop records in Dynamics CRM. So it just makes it a more granular search. And then finally, we've also built in a functionality which we call screen transfer. And what this means is, essentially, if Agent 1 takes the call, they might navigate to a screen in Dynamics, they might take down some notes and then decide that that call needs to get transferred to a second agent or escalated to a manager. When that second agent or manager gets that call, not only is the voice transferred, but we will also pop the screen that Agent 1 was looking at on that second agent screen, and we will also transfer any notes that Agent 1 has already taken. So there's no need for that second agent or manager to have to re-interview that caller. We all know what a pain that is, because they'll have that information in front of them when they get the call. And then at the top of the stack is something which we call workflow integrations. And essentially, when we architected the InGenius application originally, we did so with the idea that although different organizations are implementing Dynamics CRM, they're all going to do so in a different manner to make it work for their workflows. And with that in mind, we made it very easy for our application to be customized or have advanced configurations to meet those workflows. And this is something that we do not as professional services, that doesn't require a statement of work. It's part of the standard InGenius license. So why do customers choose InGenius? Because we're by far one of the easiest CTI solutions to deploy. It's a 1-hour install. We do it over a web session like we're on today, and you're up and running with click-to-call, screen pop, and automatic call logging. There's no on-site visit required. There's no desktop install. It's a server-based application, and there's no costly professional services, and no changes are required to your telephony configuration. So we've already talked about maximum flexibility in the workflow integrations. It's a fast return on investment because we're leveraging your investment in what you have today. So we're not adding a layer on top of your phone system. We're just tying your existing phone system into your Dynamics 365. We've got a dedicated deployment team who will work with you to get up and running. 5-star support, and we guarantee customer success. We have a customer success dedicated team who will work with you to make sure that your deployment's a success. So let's actually have a look at what the application looks like and how it works. So here you see I'm logged in to Dynamics 365 as a regular user. This is the InGenius Connector Enterprise UI over here on the right. You see it lives right within the Dynamics window, so the users are working from one pane of glass. I can log in and log out of the call queue directly from the InGenius UI, provide a reason code. If I'm going on break, it puts me into not ready. I want to log back in, I click on the icon, it puts me back in ready, and I can make and receive calls. Making an outbound call is very straightforward. You see that the phone numbers in CRM have this phone icon beside them, which means that I can click and dial. So if I want to go ahead and call my friend Alfred Perrette, I click on the phone number, it automatically puts my phone off hook and makes that call outbound. And we'll just wait for that call to connect. There we go. Once the call is connected, you see that a few things start to happen over here on the right. We automatically start logging the duration of the call. We show the number that you've dialed. You have complete phone control from within the InGenius UI, so you can end the call, you can transfer the call. If your phone supports conferencing or consult calls, you will see those buttons active here. And of course, you can put the call on hold or take the call off of hold. Now, if I'm speaking with Alfred and I decide that I want to create a new record on the fly, I can do so by clicking on this Call Actions New button. Let's say I want to create a case. I simply click on the Click to Create button. It's going to open a new case for me in CRM. Let me go ahead and do that. There we go. And pre-fill that case with all the information from the call. Okay. The other thing that you'll see here is once that case is created, our call log will automatically be logged against not only that case that we've created, but also that contact that we initially dialed out from as well. Down here for our subject and notes, we've built in configurable call log templates, so it becomes a one-click to add details to the call. Again, it's just all about making your agents more efficient. So if there's 10 things that they're constantly putting in about the calls that they're taking, they can template it, and it becomes a one-click to put in that information. Of course, they can also enter manual information here as well. Okay. We also get presented with call results. Again, these are completely configurable based on the business group's needs, and you can actually customize this UI for each individual business group within your organization. So for this particular call, I'm going to say it's a parts request, and it's a custom order, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this call. We end the call and click Done. We go back to our record for Alfred Perrette, and what we'll see here is under the activities, here's that call that we just placed outbound. If I click on that, you're going to see that we've logged all the information about the call against that entity in CRM. So here you see we have the subject of the call, who the call was from and to. It was an outgoing call. It's related to that case that we created while we were on the call. The duration of the call is logged, as well as the notes that I took while we were on the call as well. Okay, so that's your outbound scenario. Very straightforward and simple. I'm going to place the call inbound to show you what that looks like and how that works as well. So a call comes in, and because there's a single match for this particular phone caller, we automatically pop that record on the top of the screen. Again, we can answer the call directly from the InGenius UI, or we could pick up our handset. It doesn't make a difference. Everything's going to stay synchronized. Again, once the call is connected, we automatically start logging the duration of the call. Here we show not only the caller ID number, we're also, depending on the phone switch, able to show the number that that caller dialed to reach us. So in the event that we were running different marketing campaigns against different phone numbers, we are able to display that information as well. From here, everything's going to remain the same as we showed you on outbound, so you have that same telephony functionality. You can create those new records on the fly while you're on the call. This time we're going to say, sure, it was a conference call tied in Sally to the bridge. And we're going to say it was a phone repair for a field service required. Okay. Again, we're going to go ahead and end that call. We'll click Done. We just refresh the screen here. And what we'll see is that under the activities, here's that call that we just received inbound. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And again, we've logged all those call details. So the subject of the call is there, who the call was from and to. This time it was an incoming call. The duration of the call is there, the call result that we selected, and the notes that we took about that call. So again, all that information is automatically logged for us in the CRM as we finish the call, and we can then use that information to report on so that the management team gets a 360-degree view of what their agents are doing on the phone. That's it. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Look forward to the follow-up questions.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. I am now going to pass control over to Erwin for his presentation. Erwin from Xpertdoc, you are now in control.
Hey, thanks, Jason. First of all, let me congratulate Ryan and Jeff on fantastic presentations. I think we already saw a couple of great productivity tools today, and I hope I'm about to convince you that this is another one. So basically, we're just like InGenius and QGate. Xpertdoc Technologies, Inc., the company I work for, has been around for about 2 decades now. And our focus throughout that entire time has been enhancing and automating document-centric processes. So that's what it's all about. Clear focus, never done anything else. We have a presence on both sides of the Atlantic pond, both in North America and Europe, and that's about 60 people who we call document experts. Uh, Shouldn't surprise where that comes from. And we add 100 plus reselling partners to that, adding value to the table in terms of deploying our solutions. Now, important thing, and the solution that I want to talk about today is actually a solution that was recently acquired by Xpertdoc, and it's called Xpertdoc SmartFlows. And it used to be called Xpertdoc. You probably know Xpertdoc, or some of you may know Xpertdoc as one of the maybe 2 or 3 most important third-party solutions for document generation when it comes to Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So, well, I should say Microsoft Dynamics for customer 365 for customer engagement now, but we abbreviate that all to CRM, right? So yeah, so that's basically what it's about. It's about generating documents. It's automating the process of generating documents, and doing so, I must say, in a very easy and straightforward way. Not only easy for the end user, it allows you to generate documents as an end user in 1 or 2 clicks, or well, through a very intuitive step-by-step process. But you can also integrate Xpertdoc with, I have to say Xpertdoc SmartFlows right now. I'm still getting used to that. You can integrate it with workflow, so it actually can run as a background process as well. Okay, we're also looking into integrating Xpertdoc SmartFlows with Microsoft Flow, which will probably be the future of workflows. You can start it from your browser. It supports the new UI and also the traditional or the classic web UI. And it also supports mobile devices, so that means that you can run it from your mobile device, start the document generation process from your mobile device. Good thing about it is that it's not only easy for the end user, but also for the administrator, your typical CRM administrator who wants to be able to get data wherever it resides, be it in Dynamics on the record that you start a process from, or in any kind of related record, and can be several levels down in the hierarchy of relationship. No problem whatsoever. It can be actually data that lives beyond Dynamics 365 as well, because you can actually go out and grab data from outside Dynamics. I'll give you an example of that in the demo in a wee bit. And all of that can be achieved without much effort. It's not about writing complex queries. It's just point and click. And the experience of creating processes, document delivery processes. After you've generated your document, you still have to deliver it and maybe store it, maybe in SharePoint, maybe in your CRM database. You can do all that through a drag and drop process modeling option. That's inside the solution. And the good thing is that the templates as well are pretty user-friendly to set up. It's all wizard-driven, so no complex programming inside your templates. It just comes with an add-in for Microsoft Word, which is very, very user-friendly. So given all that, the IT department will be less and less involved in document generation using Xpertdoc SmartFlows, which is probably a good thing. The only thing they have to worry about is getting it integrated with the rest of the environment. And well, it's very easy to do that for Microsoft Dynamics 365 and SharePoint and DocuSign and Certify and other e-signing providers and Google Cloud Print, because Xpertdoc SmartFlows comes with out-of-the-box connectors for those systems. So that's a very easy setup, and well, it can run on your own premises, it can run in the cloud, and it can run in SaaS mode on Azure as well. So right, so 4 reasons to use SmartFlows. accelerate document creation processes. Obviously, just 1 or 2 clicks and you have your document, or no clicks at all if you want to start the document generation from a workflow. You can combine data from across and beyond Microsoft Dynamics to bring them all together into your documents. You can assure consistency across all your outbound document flows, consistency in terms of how your documents look, consistency in terms of how of the content of your documents, but also consistency in the typical flow, the way that your documents are delivered to the people who need to receive them, and the way in which your documents are stored where you need to retrieve them afterwards. And it's all about empowering the business user and reducing dependence on IT. Okay, so let's get out of this PowerPoint and let's get into some live action over here. So it works with the unified interface, as I mentioned, and the example I have for you today is based on quotes. So I have a set of quotes over here, and basically Smart Flows, it comes as a solution. By the way, I can click it over here. It comes as an app in Dynamics 365, so you can open the admin experience from here. But as an end user, basically your main control is going to be this button over here, this Smart Flow button. What happens if I click it? I can click it, by the way, from a list view. I can click it from a detail view of a record. So it starts from the list view over here. If you click it, it will open up a window that will give you an overview of available smart flows. It's available Xpertdoc smart flows to run from this particular record. And the one I'm going to run today is called email quote with external data and user input. So basically, we're going to create a document that is a quote. Yeah, we're going to include external data coming from a product database in this case. It's going to get some user input as well. It's going to ask the end user some questions, and it's going to email the quote to the person that needs to receive it. The quote contact being our good old Renee Valdez in this case. So let's hit the run button over here, and basically first step is going to ask some questions. So I can ask, or I can type as an end user answers to a couple of questions. Like for instance, do you want to go for an alternative text for the first paragraph? So let's maybe do that, and type something like, I am very happy to send you this quotation, Renee. I think Renee spelled like this. There you go. You can choose whether or not to include a section that contains product descriptions, which are picked up from Dynamics in this case. They can be PDF, they can be Word documents, they can be HTML documents. Any type of spec sheets or whatever that you have for your products can be included over here. And you can choose a version of the terms and conditions, like the short version, medium version, or a long version. Let's go for the long version here. We're in GDPR mode. So there you go. Next, after we've asked the questions, basically we're going to retrieve some data, retrieve data from the quote in question, retrieve data from the user. We're creating the document, we're creating an email, and there you go. Okay, so this is what we have created. So let's first of all open up this document, and I'm going to walk you through it to point out some of the things that we have created over here. So what you see, it opens up with a nice opening page, and it has the name of the customer that we sent this quotation to, a thank you letter that's coming from our good old product manager, and this is the opening here, right? I'm very happy to send you this quotation, Ronnie. So that basically that's what we just typed up there. Okay. You can see dates can be formatted in multiple ways, right? That's today's date. This is a date taken from the record in Dynamics. As we scroll now, you can see that the headers and the footers can have mappings as well. It's a solar products price quotation, but this is the name of the customer and the valid until date. So there you go. And here's where it really gets interesting. So this is basically the table of line items of this quotation, and it has your typical quote line information, like the quantity and the price per unit and the total amount to the line item amount. But this is where it's really interesting, because actually here we bring in data that's coming from a product database, right? And for instance, I want to point out this one where it says sufficient stock. I'm just going to bring on the template straight away. What it actually does over here is it's going to check whether the quantity quoted is less or equal to the quantity in stock. And if that's the case, then we're going to put sufficient stock over here. And if it's greater than that, so if the quantity quoted is greater than the quantity in stock, we're actually going to type insufficient stock over here. So if we see how that condition is built, it's super, super easy. So the field to use over here is in one of our data sets that's connected to this template. We're going to look at the quantity, use that as a number, choose greater than, and then we're going to look in another data set and find the quantity in stock, right? And that's how we are going to make that comparison and come up with the right mapping or the right information. Okay, let's head back to the document that we were looking at. So more interesting stuff over here. You see there's a discount of 10%, and that's why we see it over here. This is actually calculated, but the discount, once again, is in a conditional box that states that the discount should only be shown provided that there is a discount. So there you go. Scrolling further on down, you can see that we have those spreadsheets that we built in, or that we said yes to, that we wanted to see. And all the way down, you see that we have the long version of the terms and conditions, okay? And some information on our company. So there you go. That's basically how you can generate documents. But not only did we generate the document, we also have that email. So I can actually open up that email record and have a look at it. So I'm going to take it to the record over here, and I'm just going to show you that email.
And Erwin, we are at time here, so we're going to have to wrap up the next couple seconds.
Okay. So if I can actually open my record, that would be cool. Okay. So I'm going to take it to the details and then show the email that we have over here with you, the full email content. And this is me sending to René Valdez, this quotation. And you can see that you can actually do mappings and stuff like that in the body of your email as well. It has the document that we just looked at as the attachment to the email. Okay, that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Erwin. And I will now move control over to Adam. Adam Mertz from Acton.
All right, thank you so much. Let me share my screen here, and we'll get going. I'll put that in presentation mode, so hopefully you can see my screen okay. So it's great to be here with all of you to round out today's session. And I'm going to give you a brief overview of Acton. We are a marketing automation platform. And, you know, I think to start out, everybody on this call would probably agree that if you are in any way, shape, or form related to marketing, you have seen it become very complex over the course of the last 5 to 10 years as there's more and more digital breadcrumbs that are going on. And, you know, as people are researching your companies, as they're looking in and figuring out, you know, what sort of software or product that they want to purchase, they're going through their very unique buying journeys. And ultimately, you are all, with your focus on the dynamic CRM, at the end of the day, trying to make sure that your sales teams get the right leads prioritized as quickly as possible. What Acton does is we enable marketers to leverage all of these different digital breadcrumbs. We enable you to track, to score, to measure, connect, and to learn from all of these different digital engagements that are going on. Because as we all know, a lot of the buying process today is now complete by the time they actually start engaging with your sales teams. So a bit about Acton. We've been around not quite as long as some of the other companies. What I heard, several there were 20 years. We have been focused on marketing automation for the course of the past 10 years. We do have 4,000 customers, 4,000 plus customers today, and you can see some of the logos there across many different industries. And typically, when we work with companies, we help them to grow their inbound results, inbound marketing results, their outbound when they're doing campaigns, when they have known contacts that they're connecting in and trying to engage with. We help them to drive their sales productivity, their win rates, along with their customer loyalty. And we do all that while helping the entire team across marketing and sales to minimize the amount of manual effort and work that's involved in achieving all of these different growth goals. And in addition, we help marketers to prove the ROI, which has been very difficult as marketing has become more digital and more complex over the course of the past 10 years. Most importantly, we enable you to extend your Microsoft investments. We integrate across the entire Microsoft stack. You'll see a couple of that as I walk through a bit more about our platform in just a couple of minutes here. But whether it be Dynamics or Excel or Power BI, we have some great results in integrating across the board. And we actually, one customer example that I'll just briefly highlight is PGA. They are a Microsoft Dynamics customer. They had a very large buying committee. They had to support a very complex set of kind of marketing network needs. They used Power BI. That integration was critical in addition to the Dynamics, CRM use. And their results, after only 9 months, were that they saw their open rates jump dramatically to 75% on many of the emails that they were sending out. Their conversion rates on their campaigns jumped dramatically to 70%. They had, across the board, a lot of great results and really were loving the integration both between Dynamics and Power BI, along with the support that they were receiving. So that's just one example. I'm going to give you, I think, in the short amount of time that we have today, I'm going to walk through just a couple of areas that we might highlight across, that inbound and outbound side. I'm going to focus, I think, on the outbound as well as on the sales side, because that's the sales connection side, and connecting with Dynamics CRM is probably most relevant. So let me start out. When you talk about marketing automation, for those of you, who are on the phone, this is kind of the core of what a lot of marketing automation is all about when I talk about connecting all those digital breadcrumbs. Being able to score when people engage with you, which helps later to prioritize those engagements, and when people meet certain thresholds to pass over to sales. To be able to better segment, to be able to help you what's called account-based marketing, target selective accounts to enable you to nurture and to personalize your engagements. So I'll try to walk through all of these in just a few minutes. And rather than kind of jumping into a demo environment, I think that when you have somewhere between 6 and 10 minutes to talk about your solution, I'm going to try to keep it a little bit bigger picture rather than getting into the bits and bytes. But we would love to do that at another time for anybody that is interested. So let's talk about scoring for a moment here. I showed this picture earlier where you have somebody who is looking to engage with you, and as they're doing these different things, what Acton enables you to do with our digital marketing engine is to say, okay, when they look at this product page, they get 5 points. When they download this ebook, they get 10 points. When they look at this case study, they get 8 points. Do all those sorts of things. And so ultimately, and we provide kind of templates out of the box as well to enable you to start to score that engagement, and they can have that specific behavioral score. Your CRM gets updated. Your reps can get alerted at whatever threshold that you like, and they also get to see all of that engagement. Now, we also allow, out of the box with our platform, an organization to have what we call multiple scoring rules. So maybe you want an overall behavioral score, but then you also want to put people into a specific segment and a specific nurture track if they are showing a propensity towards your product line A or product line B, or maybe they're a customer versus a prospect, and so they get put into specific nurture tracks. So we allow that. So that's kind of scoring, again, high level, not really as much focused in getting into the demo environment, but again, would love to do that, if anybody after this has interest. Once you score people, though, and before it goes into the CRM, marketers need a way to better segment. So what our platform, this is a screenshot of the tool that helps you build segments, allows you to do, is to segment based on a variety of areas around profile, so something from the CRM, data from the CRM. It could be their title, It could be, a number of things that are associated with their profile information inside of the CRM, their behaviors. You can segment, of course, on their score. And you can create as many segments as you need, and you can leverage templates within our digital marketing platform. And so it just makes it really easy for you to kind of get going and to start leveraging a more kind of omni-channel approach to your marketing efforts. What we're trying to do is help you to reduce the manual efforts and help marketers to better nurture and maximize the personalization that goes on. I'm not going to actually take any time. I put in some kind of 20 and 30-second videos just to quickly go through, but I think even given the time that we have today, I'll just talk for a minute about account-based marketing and then we'll move on. But we do have a platform that enables reps to go in there and in the platform to say, this is my territory or these are my financial services accounts or what have you, and be able to have that visibility at the account level of all the contacts that are engaging that are associated with that account. So that's, since I've already talked about it, I'll hit play on this video and you'll see this is inside of our platform, and a rep would say, okay, here's financial services. And now I'm prioritizing the financial services companies by their score. And so you can email all the contacts, or you can click into one of those companies and see, okay, this is a company that's showing to have a high score. I can look at all of their engagement activity by a calendar kind of history. You can filter that if you want. You can look at all the contacts, as I was mentioning, at that account that have been engaging with you. So you can kind of get a better idea at an account level as to how to go and approach the sales process if you're a sales rep. So we support those account-based marketing efforts, again, to help the salespeople become as effective as possible. But before it even gets to the salesperson, it's really important in today's day and world with the way that people are consuming their information, and again, mainly before they talk to a sales rep, to be able to nurture them. And we have a bunch of templates that are built into our platform that allow you to start nurturing. Let's just say for a webcast like this, you might want to set up, something where it says, I want to send my first email out and then wait a week and do this and do that. And those nurture campaigns are built in, and if you want to add and change them or update, specific emails, there's a drag and drop kind of user interface that you're putting things into the nurture flow, and you're getting a whole set of reports that are associated with that nurture track. So you're seeing there, just all the different steps, and then all the people who have completed, the number of people who have completed each step. So we move from scoring to segmenting and to nurturing. And as you nurture, the only other thing that I would highlight before we jump into the CRM kind of connection side is that it's very important to make it as personalized as possible. In this example here is you're sending an email, and based on Lana is a marketer, so she's getting a marketing-oriented CTA call to action, versus maybe Eric is a sales rep. He's getting a sales call to action, and maybe there's somebody on the buying team that's in finance. And so it's not just personalizing, saying, hi, Eric, or hi, John. It's also changing the call to action. So you can set up your email campaigns in order to, again, better personalize. That's going to maximize your open and click-through rates. Now, something that is out there that people have been talking about for years, this concept of using machine learning and predictive technologies. It feels like the Jetsons sometimes, but when it comes down to leveraging it in, kind of a more pragmatic way, we do have that. We leverage that sort of technology, and that goes to leveraging all those digital breadcrumbs. And one way that we have it embedded is we say, okay, we know all these different times when people are engaging with you. But if you don't have our platform today, most marketers, when they ask that question of when should we send that campaign, they essentially do some guesswork. They try to learn from best campaigns. Okay, when's the best time to send out that email? Let's do some A/B testing, get some data. It takes kind of a long time to figure it out. Well, with that done, kind of going back to that visual that I mentioned earlier, all those different interactions are time-stamped, and so we know in our platform that when you go and, let's say, send that email out to 1,000 people, it says, well, we know that Sarah should get that at 7:30 p.m. because that's when she's typically been interacting with us, versus maybe Joe is an early morning person, and it will automatically send it during those times when they've shown to be most actively engaged with you. This is all about turning those, as I mentioned at the beginning, those digital breadcrumbs into higher engagement with your prospects. It's about eliminating all the research efforts and the guesswork that's involved. And I know that we're getting close to time, so the only other thing that I'll mention is that inside of your dynamic CRM, we have a native integration, bidirectional integration, where your rep is in there and they're looking at, say, they have a button that says activity history. And you can see that when they click on that, up pops all that activity history for that contact. And if they click on the button to the right of it that says send an email, your marketers can create template emails for them to send. We also have a bunch of Dynamics dashboards that give visibility and how to prioritize the prospects. So we do a lot in terms of integrating and extending your Microsoft investments. That was really the CRM side. We do a lot with the email side. And I know that we're right at 4 minutes left, and I wanted to give time for any questions that do come up. So I realize that was pretty short, but I appreciate all of your time today. And I'll turn it back over.
Great. Thank you, Adam.
Yep.
I will just bring us back to the main screen here. So as a follow-up, I just want to note a lot of great information from all four of our presenters today, and we will be following up with contact information. I know we had to move quickly. 12 minutes is not nearly enough to learn everything you need to know about each of these solutions, and I really have to say, just watching, I really enjoyed how we were able to cover so many of the different needs that CRM and 365 customer engagement customers are going to be looking for. So we'll get some questions now. Please enter yours if you haven't yet. And Adam, so the first one is actually to you. I'm going to see if I can kind of paraphrase this one. So it's asking, can Acton take information, can it be received from a customer and transferred to finance and operations, or the other direction, information coming from Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations into sales and then be used by Acton?
Yeah, and that's part of our, that gets into some of the native bidirectional integration that we have in terms of taking in information from Dynamics 365 from those different modules. We actually allow you to integrate with any sort of custom, I always forget, is it custom objects, and the different CRMs have their different names, but entities, I believe it is for Dynamics. So we allow you to integrate and leverage the data. Yes, we do.
All right, great. Next question is for Jeff, and is asking, does InGenius link with Dynamics 365's knowledge articles out of the box? And Jeff, let me just make sure your line is open.
Perfect, thank you. So yes, great question, and absolutely we do. We would do it as a workflow integration. So our team would just have to sit with you or sit with the customer, understand which knowledge articles they wanted to integrate with, and we would make it happen for you as your out-of-the-box experience.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Next question I have is for Ryan. It's asking about pricing and pricing models that QGate supports, subscription, perpetual, any other details you can share there?
Sure. We do support subscription primarily, so with a 12-month annual contract, you can subscribe to Paribus, or if you need it just on a month-to-month basis, you can do that as well. So looking at $900 a month for a month-to-month, and buy it as little or as often as you need it, whether it's 1 month or 3 straight months, or it's $5,400, basically half the price per month if you go with a 12-month contract.
All right, thank you. Let me make a final call for questions here. I also want to note we have a survey after the event, but I do have one more question just to get in here at this point, but any others, I will look for them in just a moment. The other question I have here is for Erwin, and is asking about the roadmap. Are there any plans to integrate with Microsoft Flow?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. As I mentioned, so we will create an Xpertdoc Smart Flows flow step. It's a lot of flows in one sentence. We're absolutely going to do that so that you can use Microsoft integration platform there and just create documents from there as well. Pick them up and use them in the rest of your Microsoft Flow.
All right, thank you. Well, we are at the top of the hour here, and we'll begin to wrap up. We have recorded today's event. We'll be sharing that. We'll also be sharing a little further information on how to find out more from our presenters today. So Ryan, Jeff, Erwin, Adam, thank you all so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And thank you to you in the audience for all your questions. We really appreciate those. We hope you enjoyed today's event. It's a little different from some of the typical formats we use. I'd really be interested to hear any feedback you care to share. With that, we will be concluding today's event. Have a great day, everybody.